Get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Picture yourself in the heart of the Amazon, surrounded by the dense forest, where every step echoes with the mystery and life around you. 3 scientists, driven by curiosity, science, and passion, are about to explore the unknown. But what begins as a promising expedition quickly turns into something much darker. Strange cries pierce the silence of the night, leaving everyone with one question: how far are they willing to go to uncover the secrets this forest holds? Stay with us and find out what's coming next. The air was thick with humidity as I adjusted the straps of my backpack, the weight of anticipation settling comfortably on my shoulders. I stood at the edge of the Amazon rainforest, the vibrant greens and browns before me, a breathtaking tapestry of life. My heart raced with excitement. This is it, I thought, the adventure I've always dreamed of. Camila, are you ready to go? Javier called out, his voice cutting through the symphony of the jungle. He was rummaging through his gear, a mixture of eagerness and nervousness evident in his eyes. Absolutely, I replied, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear and stepping toward him. The biodiversity here is unparalleled. Just think about it. Thousands of species we've yet to document. Sophia joined us, her wide eyes sparkling with curiosity. The possibilities are endless. I can't wait to start our research. Imagine the discoveries we'll make. As we began our trek into the heart of the rainforest, I felt a surge of energy flowing through me. Each step seemed to echo with the promise of new knowledge. The sun filtered through the dense canopy above, casting a playful dance of shadows on the forest floor. I took a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent of wet leaves and damp soil. Just remember to stick together, Javier reminded, glancing back at us. This place can be disorienting. Don't worry, I've got a good sense of direction, I assured him with a grin. Besides, with the 3 of us, nothing can go wrong. As the afternoon wore on, I shared stories of the unique flora and fauna we might encounter. Did you know that the Amazon is home to over 1/10 of the known species on Earth? I said, my voice bubbling with enthusiasm. And many of them haven't even been classified yet. Javier chuckled. You sound like a walking encyclopedia, Camila. But that's why we're here, right? To unlock the secrets of this jungle. The deeper we ventured, the more the sounds of civilization faded, replaced by the calls of exotic birds and the rustling of unseen creatures. It was exhilarating and a little daunting. I could feel the pulse of the forest around us, a living entity that seemed to breathe along with us. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, we decided to set up camp. The air cooled significantly, and a sense of tranquility washed over us as we gathered around the crackling fire. Let's share some stories, Sophia suggested, her voice warm and inviting. What do you think we'll find here? I hope to find something that hasn't been touched by human hands, I replied, staring into the flames. Something that reminds us of how fragile our world is. Just as I finished speaking, a strange sound resonated through the trees. A deep, haunting lament that seemed to weave through the very fabric of the night. I exchanged glances with Sophia and Javier, a chill creeping up my spine. Did you hear that? Sophia whispered, her eyes wide. It's probably just wildlife. Javier shrugged, though I could see the skepticism in his expression. This is the jungle. Strange sounds are a daily occurrence. I nodded, trying to shake off the unease that settled in my stomach. Yeah, just the forest settling for the night, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. The sound lingered in my mind, a reminder of the mysteries lurking just beyond the firelight. After a while, the conversation shifted back to our research, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The night deepened, and the shadows around us stretched longer, the forest growing denser, more suffocating. I couldn't help but glance over my shoulder, half expecting to see a figure emerging from the trees. As we settled into our tents, I couldn't sleep. The whispers of the forest danced on the edges of my consciousness, pulling me into a realm of uncertainty. What was out there in the dark? What secrets did this ancient land hold? Camila, Javier's voice broke the silence. Are you awake? Yes, I replied, my heart racing. What is it? I was thinking, what if we go investigate the sound tomorrow, just to see what's causing it? He proposed, a hint of mischief in his tone. I hesitated, remembering the unease I felt. I don't know, Javier. It could be dangerous. Maybe we should just stick to our research. Sophia chimed in, but what if it leads us to something incredible? The local legends could have some truth to them. Javier grinned, clearly excited by the prospect. Come on, what's the worst that could happen? We're biologists, not ghost hunters. Despite my apprehension, I felt a flicker of curiosity ignite within me. Okay, I relented, but we need to be careful. As I lay in my tent, I realized that this expedition was about to take a turn I couldn't have anticipated. The forest was alive, and it wasn't just the biodiversity that intrigued me. It was the very essence of the land, a spirit that whispered secrets in the night. Little did I know that we were on the brink of uncovering something far beyond our wildest dreams or nightmares. The air was thick with humidity as we ventured deeper into the Amazon. Each step seemed to echo the haunting laments that had lured us from the safety of our camp. The shadows of the trees loomed over us, their twisted branches reaching out like fingers clawing at the night sky. My heart raced with a mix of fear and exhilaration. What if we find something incredible? I whispered, glancing at Javier, who walked ahead with an air of skepticism. Or what if we find something we wish we hadn't? He shot back, his voice low but steady. I could sense the tension. Despite his bravado, he was unnerved. Sophia, walking beside me, shivered involuntarily. Did you hear that? She asked, halting abruptly. I strained my ears, the eerie cries still echoing through the trees. Let's try to get some rest, I suggested, though sleep felt elusive. As I lay in my tent, I couldn't help but wonder about the spirits we had disturbed. Were they watching us? Did they know our intentions? The thought lingered, a dark shadow in the recesses of my mind, as I drifted into an uneasy slumber. As darkness enveloped the Amazon once more, the haunting laments grew louder, weaving through the trees like a chilling breeze. I sat by the flickering campfire, my heart racing. The sounds were like a symphony of sorrow, echoing the pain of the forest. I could feel the weight of the night pressing down on me, and I could see it in Camila's and Javier's faces as well. Maybe we should record the sounds, I suggested, feeling a mix of dread and fascination. We can analyze them later. Camila exchanged a wary glance with Javier. Are you sure that's a good idea? It feels wrong to disturb whatever is happening out there. It's just sounds, Camila. We can't let fear dictate our research, Javier replied, his skepticism still evident. This is an opportunity to document something significant. I nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. Exactly. If we can capture it, we might even be able to explain it scientifically. I hurried to grab my recording equipment, trying to shake off the growing unease that settled in my stomach. As I set up the microphone, the campfire flickered violently, casting eerie shadows that danced on the trees. I looked up, my breath hitching in my throat. There, just beyond the perimeter of our camp, a ghostly figure loomed over our equipment, its form barely discernible in the dim light. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Did you see that? I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. What? See what? Javier asked, squinting into the darkness. Camila's eyes widened. I felt something. It's like the air changed. Before I could respond, the soft whispers returned, swirling around us like a sinister breeze. I strained to understand, but the language was foreign, almost melodic, yet filled with an underlying sadness. My skin prickled as panic began to set in. We need to leave, Camila insisted, her voice trembling. No, we can't leave now. Javier countered, his tone sharp. We're so close to understanding this. If we just stay a little longer. Javier, you're not listening. Camila shot back, her frustration boiling over. This isn't just science anymore. These are spirits. Whatever they are, they don't want us here. I could feel the tension rising between them, the air thick with unspoken fears. Maybe we should just take a moment, I interjected, hoping to defuse the situation. Let's not make any rash decisions. But Javier was undeterred. He crossed his arms, a stubborn look etched on his face. I refuse to be driven away by myths. There's something here we can learn, and I won't let fear of the unknown stop me. Camila shook her head. It's not just myths, Javier. It's our safety. Let's try to get some rest, I suggested, though sleep felt elusive. As I lay in my tent, I couldn't help but wonder about the spirits we had disturbed. Were they watching us? Did they know our intentions? The thought lingered, a dark shadow in the recesses of my mind, as I drifted into an uneasy slumber. As darkness enveloped the Amazon once more, the haunting laments grew louder, weaving through the trees like a chilling breeze. I sat by the flickering campfire, my heart racing. The sounds were like a symphony of sorrow, echoing the pain of the forest. I could feel the weight of the night pressing down on me, and I could see it in Camila's and Javier's faces as well. Maybe we should record the sounds, I suggested, feeling a mix of dread and fascination. We can analyze them later. Camila exchanged a wary glance with Javier. Are you sure that's a good idea? It feels wrong to disturb whatever is happening out there. It's just sounds, Camila. We can't let fear dictate our research, Javier replied, his skepticism still evident. This is an opportunity to document something significant. I nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. Exactly. If we can capture it, we might even be able to explain it scientifically. I hurried to grab my recording equipment, trying to shake off the growing unease that settled in my stomach. As I set up the microphone, the campfire flickered violently, casting eerie shadows that danced on the trees. I looked up, my breath hitching in my throat. There, just beyond the perimeter of our camp, a ghostly figure loomed over our equipment, its form barely discernible in the dim light. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Did you see that? I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. What? See what? Javier asked, squinting into the darkness. Camila's eyes widened. I felt something. It's like the air changed. Before I could respond, the soft whispers returned, swirling around us like a sinister breeze. I strained to understand, but the language was foreign, almost melodic, yet filled with an underlying sadness. My skin prickled as panic began to set in. We need to leave, Camila insisted, her voice trembling. No, we can't leave now. Javier countered, his tone sharp. We're so close to understanding this. If we just stay a little longer. Javier, you're not listening, Camila shot back, her frustration boiling over. This isn't just science anymore. These are spirits. Whatever they are, they don't want us here. I could feel the tension rising between them, the air thick with unspoken fears. Maybe we should just take a moment, I interjected, hoping to defuse the situation. Let's not make any rash decisions. But Javier was undeterred. He crossed his arms, a stubborn look etched on his face. I refuse to be driven away by myths. There's something here we can learn, and I won't let fear of the unknown stop me. Camila shook her head. It's not just myths, Javier. It's our safety. We don't even know what these spirits want from us. I refuse to be a part of this reckless pursuit. The fire crackled, and the shadows danced menacingly around us as if responding to our argument. It felt as though the forest itself was listening, watching, and perhaps even judging. The whispers grew louder, and I could almost feel the weight of the spirits pressing down on us. I looked at my friends, desperation clawing at me. Please, can we just think this through? I pleaded. If we push too far, we might provoke something we can't control. But Javier's gaze was fixed on the darkness. I'm not afraid of the unknown. We have to understand, or we'll never know how this forest truly works. Suddenly, the whispers escalated into a cacophony, filling the air with an urgency that sent chills down my spine. I felt a surge of terror and frustration, every word they spoke slipping through my fingers like sand. It was as if the forest itself was warning us, pleading with us to reconsider our presence. Javier, I said, my voice quaking with fear, this is more than just research. We're trespassing into something sacred. But he wouldn't listen. The stubbornness in his eyes was unwavering, and I knew that the divide between us was growing wider. I felt the darkness creeping in, a tangible force that threatened to swallow us whole, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were about to cross a line we couldn't uncross. As the arguing continued, I could sense the spirits growing agitated, their whispers transforming into a chorus of despair. The fire flickered again, casting long shadows that danced like the spirits themselves. The jungle felt alive with energy, and I realized that we were not just trespassers. We were unwitting participants in a story far older than any of us. One that demanded respect and understanding, neither of which we seemed to grasp as we stood there, bickering under the watchful eyes of the guardians of the forest. The next day, the air was thick with an unshakable tension. The forest around us seemed to whisper secrets that we were not meant to hear. I felt it in my bones, a primal instinct urging me to turn back, yet curiosity pushed me forward. Are we really going deeper into this jungle? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, as we stood at the edge of a narrow path that snaked into the heart of the Amazon. Javier, always the intrepid explorer, grinned at me. Come on, Camila. There's something out there. I can feel it. We've heard the laments. Maybe they're calling us. We can't turn back now. Sophia looked between us, her brow furrowed with concern. But what if we're not supposed to be here? The spirits, they're trying to tell us something. Her voice trembled slightly, and I could see the conflict within her. We'll be fine. Let's just see what's at the end of this path, Javier insisted, and with a resigned nod, I followed them into the green abyss. As we ventured deeper, the canopy thickened above us, casting shadows that danced in the corners of my vision. The sounds of the jungle enveloped us, chirps, rustles, and the distant hum of unseen life. Yet, the haunting laments echoed louder, weaving through the trees like an invisible thread, pulling us onward. After what felt like hours of walking, we stumbled upon an abandoned village. The structures, half swallowed by the jungle, stood as silent sentinels of a forgotten civilization. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I stepped closer to one of the crumbling walls. Intricate carvings adorned the stone, depicting figures that seemed to writhe in pain, their expressions frozen in a haunting lament. Look at this, I called out, tracing a finger over the carvings. It's like they were trying to communicate something. Javier approached, his eyes wide with excitement. This could change everything we know about the region. If we could just... Javier, we need to be careful. Sophia interrupted, her voice rising. These relics, they're not just decorations, they hold a history, maybe even a warning. But Javier brushed off her concerns, continuing to examine the carvings. It's just stone, Sophia. We can't let fear cloud our understanding. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the village as twilight settled in. With the fading light, the air grew heavier, thickening with an energy I couldn't quite place. The laments returned, more pronounced than ever, echoing through the trees, wrapping around us like a shroud. I turned to Sophia, my heart racing. Do you hear that? It's closer now. Yes, she whispered, her eyes darting nervously. It's almost as if they're watching us. Maybe they want to communicate, Javier said, his voice brimming with excitement. We should try to make contact. Before I could protest, he moved deeper into the village, beckoning us to follow. The laments grew into a chorus, each sound reverberating off the trees, giving life to the shadows that danced around us. I hesitated, my instincts screaming at me to turn back, but I couldn't abandon my friends. Javier, wait, I called, but he was already too far ahead. Sophia and I exchanged worried glances before reluctantly following. As night descended, the forest transformed. The shadows lengthened, and the air shimmered with an otherworldly glow. We spotted shapes moving between the trees, faint outlines that seemed to flicker like candle flames. My heart raced as I felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over me. Javier, we need to go back. But he was entranced, stepping closer to the ghostly figures that now emerged fully into view. They're trying to show us something, he shouted, his voice tinged with awe. I reached for Sophia's arm, pulling her closer. We shouldn't be here. This feels wrong. I know, she replied, her voice quivering. But what if they're not malevolent? What if they want to protect us? Suddenly, the figures solidified, revealing themselves as ethereal beings adorned in feathers and beads, their eyes glowing with an ancient wisdom. I felt my breath catch in my throat as they raised their hands, and a profound sorrow radiated from them. Leave this place, one of the spirits spoke, its voice echoing like a distant thunder. You do not belong here. Javier, undeterred, stepped forward. We mean no harm. We want to learn. The spirits recoiled slightly, and the air grew colder. Your presence disturbs the balance, another spirit warned, its voice layered with sadness. You tread on sacred ground. I could see the fear in Sophia's eyes as she held my gaze, her breath quickening. Camila, we have to listen. They are the guardians of this land. Please, Javier pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. Help us understand. We want to respect your home. The spirits exchanged glances, their forms flickering like candle flames. Your intentions do not match your actions. You must leave before it is too late. A wave of panic surged through me. We have to go, I urged Sophia, and she nodded, her face pale. But Javier stood his ground. No, we can't just run. This is our chance to learn from them. As the lamenting intensified, the spirit's forms began to waver, and I felt a powerful force pulling at me, an instinct to flee. I grabbed Sophia's hand, ready to turn back, but Javier remained rooted to the spot, caught in a battle between curiosity and survival. "Javier, please," I begged, my voice cracking. "We have to leave now." I could feel my heart pounding in my chest as we stood there, the weight of the forest pressing down on us. Javier, with his eyes alight with a mix of fear and intrigue, was adamant. "We can't just turn our backs on this. This is history right in front of us, Camila. These spirits, they want to communicate." "Javier, this isn't just about research anymore," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "We've crossed a line, and I can feel it. The air is thick with something ominous. We need to leave." Sophia, standing beside me, nodded in agreement, her face pale under the moonlight. "I don't like this. The trees are watching us. It feels like we're intruding on something sacred." But Javier's determination was unwavering. "We need to perform a ritual. It's what they expect from us. It's the only way to understand what they want." "Perform a ritual?" I echoed incredulously. "You really think that's a good idea? What if we provoke them further? Or what if it calms them?" He countered, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. "We owe it to them and to ourselves to try." With a heavy heart, I realized that debating would get us nowhere. I glanced at Sophia, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "Fine, but we need to be careful. We don't know what we're dealing with." As we gathered offerings from the forest floor, leaves, flowers, and stones, I felt a growing sense of dread. I could hear the lamenting sounds again, closer than before, echoing through the trees like an unsettling lullaby. The chilling whispers seemed to weave around us, wrapping tighter with every moment we spent in this mystical yet terrifying place. "Do you feel that?" Sophia whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "It's like the forest is alive and angry." "Exactly," I replied, glancing nervously over my shoulder. "We shouldn't be here." Javier, however, was lost in his own thoughts, arranging the offerings with reverence. "This is it. This is our chance to connect with the spirits." But as he spoke, a sudden gust of wind whipped through the trees, causing the branches to shake violently. It felt as if the forest itself was rebelling against our presence. I stumbled back, my heart racing as I watched the trees sway, their trunks creaking ominously. "Javier, what did you do?" I shouted, panic rising in my chest. "I didn't do anything," he yelled back, his face pale. "Maybe they're just reacting to our offerings." The ground beneath us trembled, and the lamenting sounds grew into a cacophony of rage. Shadows flickered at the periphery of my vision, darting between the trees, their forms indistinct yet menacing. "We need to go, now," I urged, grabbing Sophia's arm. But before we could turn, the spirits revealed themselves in full force, their ethereal figures emerging from the darkness. They hovered ominously, their faces twisted in expressions of fury, their forms glowing with an eerie light. "Run!" I screamed, and we bolted deeper into the jungle, branches clawing at our clothes as we fled. The forest erupted around us, and I could hear Javier shouting behind me, "No, we need to stay and understand." "Are you insane?" I shouted back, my breath coming in sharp gasps. "They want us gone." We stumbled into a clearing, breathless and terrified, and my eyes fell upon a river, its waters churning violently in the moonlight. "We can cross. We have to." "Look," Sophia pointed, her voice trembling as she stepped closer to the bank. "They're blocking the path." The spirits had gathered at the river's edge, their forms shimmering like mist. They raised their arms, creating an impenetrable wall of energy, preventing our escape. "Please, we don't mean any harm," I shouted, desperation spilling from my lips. "We only wanted to learn." But the spirits remained silent, their presence heavy and foreboding. We were trapped, the current raging behind us, and as fear gripped my heart, I realized that our choices had led us to this moment. The jungle, once a place of wonder, had turned into a nightmare, and we stood at the precipice of something far beyond our understanding. I stood frozen by the riverbank, my heart hammering in my chest as a figure emerged from the shadows of the trees. The twilight cast a silver sheen over the water, illuminating an old woman whose presence felt both ancient and otherworldly. Her hair was like wisps of smoke, flowing freely around her shoulders, and her deep-set eyes glimmered with a wisdom that seemed to pierce through the very essence of the jungle. She opened her mouth, and her voice, soft yet commanding, floated through the air with an almost melodic quality. "You trespass on sacred ground," she said, her words laced with a strange rhythmic cadence. "But I am here to guide you, not to punish." "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Camila and Javier stood beside me, equally entranced and bewildered. "I am the shaman, the protector of these woods," she replied, her gaze sweeping over us as if she could read our fears and intentions. "The spirits you hear are not your enemies. They lament for the disturbance you have brought to their home." "We didn't mean to intrude," Camila interjected, her voice trembling. "We came to study the ecosystem, to learn." The shaman nodded slowly, her expression softening. "Knowledge is power, but it comes with a price. The spirits demand respect, and they feel threatened by your presence. You must understand their sorrow and their bond to this land." A chill ran down my spine as the weight of her words settled in. "What can we do?" I asked, desperation creeping into my tone. "We didn't mean any harm." "To appease them, you must offer a sacrifice of understanding and respect," she instructed, her voice steady. "Only then will the spirits relent and allow you to leave." "What kind of sacrifice?" Javier asked, his curiosity overpowering his fear. The shaman's eyes narrowed, and she pointed towards the dense foliage that surrounded us. "You must give a piece of your soul, a confession of your truths. Only by revealing your true selves can you bridge the worlds." I exchanged glances with Camila and Javier, uncertainty dancing in the air between us. "But what if they don't accept it?" I asked, a knot forming in my stomach. "Then you will be trapped here, forever bound to the shadows of the forest," she replied, her voice a low whisper that echoed with finality. We stood in silence, the gravity of her words weighing heavily upon us. I took a deep breath, feeling the humid air fill my lungs as I prepared to speak. "I'll go first," I said, surprising myself. "I've always wanted to save the environment, but I'm terrified of failing. I've let my fears stop me from making a difference." The shaman nodded, her expression approving. "You have taken the first step." Camila followed, her voice steady as she revealed her struggles with her identity as a scientist. "I feel like I'm always trying to prove myself, but often I feel like an imposter. I fear that I'm not enough." The shaman listened intently, her gaze unwavering. Javier hesitated, glancing between us. "I've always doubted the legends," he finally admitted, his voice brittle. "I thought they were just stories, but now I see there's a truth here I never acknowledged." As we each laid our vulnerabilities bare, I felt a shift in the atmosphere around us. The river's surface began to ripple, and the haunting laments quieted to a soft hum, as if the spirits were listening. But just as I thought we were making progress, the shaman's expression changed. "There is one more truth to reveal," she said, her gaze settling on Sophia. "You are of this land, a descendant of those who once walked these paths. You are bound to the spirits, the bridge between worlds." The revelation hit us like a thunderclap. I looked at Sophia, her face pale as realization dawned. "What does that mean?" she breathed, her voice trembling. The shaman stepped closer, her presence both comforting and intimidating. "You must choose, Sophia. You can leave with your companions, or you can stay and embrace your heritage, becoming one with the guardians of this forest." Tension crackled in the air as we processed her words. I felt a wave of panic wash over me. "No, we can't leave you here," I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice. Sophia's expression hardened, a mixture of fear and acceptance flaring in her eyes. I don't know what to do. This is my family, my history." The shaman raised her hand, silencing our protests. "The spirits will allow your friends to leave, but only if Sophia stays behind to fulfill her destiny." Tears brimmed in Sophia's eyes as she looked at us, her heart torn between two worlds. "I wish I could be with you," she whispered, "but I also feel this pull, like I'm meant to be here." Finally, she took a deep breath and stepped forward, facing the river. "I choose to stay," she declared, her voice steady. With that, the spirits began to reveal themselves, shimmering figures emerging from the shadows, welcoming her into their fold. My heart shattered as I realized what we were losing. The river seemed to glow, the current calming as Sophia stepped toward her destiny. "Remember me," she said, her voice echoing in the stillness. "I will always be with you." As the spirits enveloped her, I felt a profound sense of grief wash over me. Javier and Camila held on to me tightly, our hearts breaking for the friend we had to leave behind. The shaman turned to us, her expression somber yet soothing. "Go now," she urged. "Honor your truths, and the forest will remember you." With one last longing look at Sophia, we turned away, the weight of our loss heavy on our shoulders as we stepped back into the depths of the jungle. The haunting laments now a bittersweet memory echoing in our hearts.